ورتل القرآن ترتيلا.
Assalamu alaikum. In this lesson, we will be covering the rule of Isti'adha and Basmalah. Our learning objectives are: number one, to know how to recite Isti'adha and Basmalah correctly. Number two, to know the meaning of Isti'adha and Basmalah. And finally, to know the different forms of Isti'adha and Basmalah. So what does Isti'adha mean? The meaning of Isti'adha is to seek protection or refuge. Before reciting the Quran, the reciter will say, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. I seek protection and refuge with Allah from Shaitan the rejected. Why do we recite it? Well, it is ordered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to recite the Isti'adha before we recite the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah An-Nahl, ayah 98, فَإِذَا قَرَأْتَ الْقُرْآنَ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. So when you recite the Quran, first seek refuge in Allah from Shaitan the expelled, from his mercy. There are three forms of Isti'adha. Number one, where we say أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, which is the normal way. Number two, where we add السميع العليم, so we recite أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. And number three, where we just recite أعوذ بالله من الشيطان. What does Basmalah mean? Basmalah is to say in the name of Allah. We recite the Basmalah before the beginning of every surah, with the only exception being Surah TAWBAH. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. There are four main ways of reciting the Basmalah at the beginning of a surah. Number one, where we separate the Isti'adha, the Basmalah, and the first verse. Number two, where we join all three together. So we join the Isti'adha, Basmalah, and the first verse in one breath. Number three, where we say the Isti'adha and then join the Basmalah with the first verse. And lastly, where we join the Isti'adha and Basmalah and then start the first verse. So now let's have a look at each one individually. The first one is where we separate the Isti'adha, the Basmalah, and the first verse. So we recite أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الناس. Number two is where we join all three together in one breath. So we recite أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الناس. Number three is where we say the Isti'adha and then join the Bismillah with the first verse. So we recite أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الناس. And lastly is where we join the Isti'adha and Bismillah and then start the first verse. So أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الناس. There is an exception to this rule of Bismillah. Surah At-Tawbah is the only surah in the Quran where Bismillah is not recited. So we have two options here. Number one is to cut out the Isti'adha from the beginning of the surah. And number two is to join the Isti'adha to the start of Surah At-Tawbah. So if we look at option one, is where we cut out the Isti'adha from the beginning of the surah. So we will read the last ayah of Surah Al-Anfal, which is before Surah At-Tawbah. We would say, Inna Allah bi kulli shay'in alimun bara'atun min Allah, which is the first ayah of Surah At-Tawbah. If we look at option two, is where we join the Isti'adha to the start of Surah At-Tawbah. It would be the last ayah of Surah Al-Anfal again, where we can read Inna Allah bi kulli shay'in alim. Then we add in the Isti'adha, A'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajim. And then we add the first ayah of Surah At-Tawbah, Bara'atun min Allahi wa Rasuli. So what have we learnt in this lesson? We know what Isti'adha and Bismillah means. We know the different forms of Isti'adha. We know the different ways of joining the Isti'adha, Bismillah and the first verse. And we know the different ways of starting Surah Tawbah. Hope you have benefited from this lesson. Keep seeking knowledge. Ma'as salama.